Karma is a central philosophical and religious concept in ancient Indian thought, widely adopted and developed by various belief systems, among which Buddhism stands out prominently. Unlike contemporary traditions that often associate karma with divine power or ritual practices, early Buddhism approaches the concept from a unique perspective. Karma is viewed as an objective law of cause and effect, created and inherited by individuals themselves, independent of any supernatural force. The doctrine of karma in Buddhism holds deep ethical significance, serving as the foundation for a mindful and responsible life. The Buddha taught that each person is the owner of their karma, the heir to their karma, and that karma determines not only rebirth but also the quality of one's present and future existence. Through this teaching, Buddhism not only explains the disparities among beings but also guides individuals toward wholesome living, avoidance of evil, and ultimately, personal happiness and social harmony. This paper focuses on exploring the concept of karma in early Buddhism, drawing from early scriptural sources such as the Agama Sutras in the Chinese canon, and the Nikayas in the Pali canon, with particular emphasis on three key discourses: the shorter exposition on karma, the Sutra to Young Ofka, and the greater exposition on karma. Through this examination, the study aims to clarify the nature, function, and practical value of the Buddhist view on karma as taught by the Buddha in the Path of Cultivation and Liberation. Introduction. 1. Karma, a timeless philosophical and religious issue. The concept of karma has long been a profound topic in the realms of philosophy and religion, deeply rooted in ancient Indian culture. Not only within Buddhism, but other spiritual traditions such as Brahmanism, Jainism, and Hinduism have also developed their own interpretations of karma and rebirth. Since ancient times, humanity has been preoccupied with existential questions such as, where do we come from, and where do we go after death? These timeless inquiries reflect the human longing to understand life, death, and the purpose of existence. Various philosophical and religious systems have offered diverse explanations to these questions. However, due to differing perspectives and goals, these explanations often diverge. Thus, learners must develop the ability to critically assess and discern, embracing those ideas that promote ethical living, peace, and spiritual development, regardless of their doctrinal origin. 2. Buddhism as a revolutionary shift in thought. The Buddha emerged at a time when Indian society was heavily influenced by Brahmanical ideology, which emphasized rituals, caste hierarchy, and mythological belief systems. In contrast, Buddhism arose as a revolutionary force that rejected blind faith and meaningless rituals. Instead, it upheld wisdom, self-reliance, and personal responsibility. The Buddha clearly taught that it is not divine forces, but one's own actions, karma, that determine one's destiny. What sets Buddhism apart is its spirit of openness and adaptability. As it spread, especially during the reign of King Ashoka, Buddhism absorbed cultural elements from different regions. This helped expand its influence but also introduced interpretive variations that eventually led to the formation of distinct schools and sects within the Buddhist tradition. 3. The development of Buddhist thought and the central role of karma. Following the Buddha's passing, changes in geography, society, and monastic lifestyle, from wandering mendicants to settled communities in monasteries, led to differences in practice and doctrinal emphasis. These differences gave rise to two major schools, the Theravada, conservative, and the Maskika, progressive. Over time, these evolved into various subschools, each offering unique perspectives on Buddhist teachings, including karma. Despite the diversification of Buddhist thought, the doctrine of karma has remained a foundational and unifying element. All Buddhist schools recognize karma as a force shaping both present and future lives, the engine of rebirth, and a key measure of moral quality. Early Buddhist teachings on karma emphasize personal accountability, moral equality, and the capacity for inner transformation, encouraging individuals to live ethically and harmoniously. 4. Scope of this study. This paper focuses specifically on the concept of karma as presented in early Buddhism, based on the Agama Sutras, Chinese canon, Northern tradition, and the Nikaya Sutras, Pali canon, Southern tradition. Key texts include the Lesser Discourse on Karma, Kakamavibhaga Sutta, Pali. The Onvu Sutra, a Chinese counterpart to the above discourse. The Greater Discourse on Karma, Mahakamavibhaga Sutta, Pali. The Greater Discourse on Karma in the Chinese Agama. Additionally, the paper will explore related concepts such as non-self, anatta, and not-self, anatman, compare Buddhist notions of karma with those of Jainism, and assess the practical value of the karma doctrine in the context of modern life. 2. The historical context of the development of Buddhist thought. 1. The Indian philosophical and religious landscape before Buddhism. Prior to the emergence of Buddhism in the 6th century BCE, Indian society was deeply shaped by Vedic traditions and Brahmanical thought. These traditions emphasized a strict social hierarchy based on caste, varna, ritual sacrifices, yajna, and the authority of the Vedas. At the time, metaphysical speculations about the self, Atman, the eternal soul, and its union with the universal reality, Brahman, dominated religious discourse. The prevailing belief was that liberation, moksha, could be attained through ritual precision and the mediation of the Brahmin priesthood. In this worldview, karma was already present as a concept, but it was primarily linked to ritual acts rather than moral intention. One's future was believed to depend on the correct performance of Vedic rites rather than ethical behavior or personal responsibility. 2. The emergence of Rama movements and spiritual reform. In reaction to the ritualistic and hierarchical nature of Brahmanism, several heterodox movements, collectively known as Rama traditions, arose. These included Jainism, Ajivika, and eventually Buddhism. The Ramas rejected the authority of the Vedas and emphasized renunciation, meditation, and ethical living as paths to liberation. These reform movements brought forward new and more egalitarian ideas, challenging traditional views of karma, caste, and the role of ritual. They called for a return to personal experience and inner transformation rather than external sacrifices. The Rama milieu thus provided the fertile ground in which the Buddha's revolutionary teachings could emerge and flourish. 3. The Buddha's radical reinterpretation of karma. Siddhartha Gautama, later known as the Buddha, was born into a Kshatriya, warrior, family and lived during a time of intense intellectual and spiritual ferment. After attaining enlightenment, he presented a radically new vision of karma. Unlike the Vedic or Brahmanical traditions, the Buddha emphasized intention, cetana, as the essence of karma. It is volition, monks, that I call karma, Anguttara Nikaya. This shift placed ethical responsibility at the heart of spiritual practice. The Buddha taught that all beings, regardless of caste, gender, or background, are subject to the laws of karma, and each individual has the potential to transform their destiny through mindful actions, speech, and thought. This democratization of spiritual agency was unprecedented in Indian religious history. 4. The early Buddhist community and preservation of the teachings. Following the Buddha's passing, parinirva, his disciples gathered at councils to recite and preserve his teachings orally. These were later compiled into collections such as the Nikayas in Pali and the Agamas in Sanskrit and Chinese translations. While these collections vary slightly due to transmission through different schools and languages, they share a common doctrinal core, particularly on key themes like the Four Noble Truths, the Noble Eightfold Path, and karma. The early Sangha, monastic community, played a vital role in maintaining doctrinal consistency, but as time passed, geographical expansion and cultural integration led to diversity in interpretation and practice. 5. The division into schools and evolution of Buddhist thought. As Buddhism spread across India and beyond, differences in interpretation and emphasis began to surface. Around a century after the Buddha's death, the first major schism occurred, leading to the formation of two broad traditions. Theravada, doctrine of the elders, preserving what they considered the original teachings, emphasizing individual liberation through disciplined monastic practice. Maskika, great community, embracing a more inclusive and flexible approach, which later gave rise to Mahayana Buddhism. From these roots, Buddhist thought continued to evolve, incorporating local cultural elements and responding to philosophical debates. Despite these developments, the concept of karma remained a central and unifying doctrine, interpreted through various philosophical lenses across different schools. 3. Changes in practice and thought. 1. Shifts in the understanding of karma over time. In early Buddhism, especially in the Nikayas and Agamas, karma was defined primarily in terms of intention, satana, the moral quality of one's volitional actions. The Buddha clearly emphasized that ethical conduct, rooted in wholesome intentions, was the foundation for both spiritual progress and future rebirths. Karma was not deterministic, it interacted dynamically with conditions and could be transformed through mindfulness, wisdom, and effort. However, as Buddhism evolved, the interpretation of karma became increasingly complex. Some later schools introduced more deterministic or fatalistic readings of karma, sometimes using it to explain suffering or misfortune in a rigid way, for example, as retribution for past wrongs in former lives. This shift, while sometimes useful for explaining individual suffering, risked undermining the early Buddhist view of karma as a flexible, ethically empowering principle. In Mahayana Buddhism, karma was often woven into broader cosmological frameworks, such as the Bodhisattva path, which emphasized compassion and the intentional accumulation of merit not only for personal liberation but for the benefit of all beings. 2. Institutionalization and the emergence of rituals. As Buddhism transitioned from a renunciant movement into a more institutionalized religion, especially with royal patronage, e.g. under Emperor Asoka and later rulers, its practices diversified. Monasteries became centers of education, meditation, and community service, but also hubs for rituals, offerings, and devotional acts. Lay followers, in particular, began to focus more on merit-making activities such as giving alms, sponsoring monastic construction, or participating in ceremonies. These acts were seen as generating positive karma for a better rebirth. While such practices were rooted in early teachings, over time, some strands of Buddhism placed disproportionate emphasis on external actions and merit accumulation, at the expense of inner transformation and meditative insight. 3. The role of merit, panna, and its evolving significance. The concept of panna, merit, became increasingly central to Buddhist devotional life. In early texts, merit was seen as the fruit of ethical conduct and generosity. It was one part of a balanced path that also included wisdom and concentration. But in later periods, especially in popular or lay-oriented forms of Buddhism, merit sometimes took on quasi-transactional meanings, as a spiritual currency to be earned and transferred to others, such as deceased relatives or future lives. While the idea of transferring merit, patidana, is found even in early Buddhism, its later expansion into elaborate communal rituals marks a significant transformation in Buddhist practice. This shift reflects not just doctrinal change but also social adaptation. Laypeople, often unable to fully renounce the world, found in merit making a practical way to engage with the Dharma and support the Sangha. 4. Philosophical elaboration and scholastic interpretation. As Buddhism matured, especially in the Abhidharma traditions, monks began to systematize and analyze the Buddha's teachings in highly detailed philosophical terms. Karma was dissected into multiple categories: immediate, delayed, weighty, habitual, etc., each with its own impact and lifespan. These developments allowed for a more nuanced understanding of karmic causality but also made the doctrine more esoteric and scholastic. Later Mahayana thinkers, such as Nagarjuna and Vajrabandhu, offered deeper reflections on the nature of karma in relation to emptiness, sunyata, store consciousness, alayavijnana, and interdependence, pradityasamutpada. These reinterpretations integrated karma into broader metaphysical systems, bridging ethics with ontology. While these developments enriched Buddhist philosophy, they also contributed to a divergence between theoretical doctrine and practical engagement, especially for ordinary practitioners. 5. Regional adaptations and syncretism. As Buddhism spread to diverse regions, Tibet, China, Korea, Japan, Southeast Asia, its teachings and practices were adapted to local cultural and religious contexts. In East Asia, for instance, Confucian and Taoist influences shaped attitudes toward karma, family obligations, and ancestor worship. In Tibetan Buddhism, karma became closely linked with tantric rituals, visualization practices, and the role of enlightened masters, lamas. These regional adaptations sometimes led to new interpretations of karma, blending indigenous beliefs with Buddhist doctrine. While this shows the resilience and flexibility of Buddhist thought, it also marked a departure from the original simplicity and psychological clarity of early Buddhist karma theory. 4. The doctrine of karma through different periods. 1. Early Buddhism, the ethical and psychological foundation of karma. In the earliest strata of Buddhist texts, found in the Nikayas, Pali Canon, and Agamas, Chinese Agama translations, karma is most clearly defined by the Buddha as intention, satana. Satanya bhikkhave kama vadami, monks, it is volition that I call karma, Aguttara Nikaya, and 6. 63. In this period karma is not deterministic, but conditional. It is only one part of the broader chain of dependent origination, paiccasamupta. Understood as moral causality, with a focus on personal responsibility, our current intentions shape our present experiences and future rebirths. Deeply tied to mental purification and ethical training, the emphasis lies on right intention, mindfulness, and the cessation of craving to transcend the cycle of rebirth, sasra. This early formulation positions karma not as fate, but as an empowering principle. The practitioner is the owner of their karma, and through ethical discipline, meditation, and insight, they can transform their karmic momentum. 2. Abhidharma period, systematization and analytical elaboration. With the rise of Abhidharma traditions, both in Theravada and Sarvastivada schools, karma becomes increasingly analyzed and categorized in scholastic detail. Key developments include division of karma into types e.g., weighty, habitual, proximate, and reserve karma. Analysis of karma's timing, immediate, dihidhamavadanya, next life, upapajavadanya, or delayed, apraparyavadanya. Karma is now seen in relation to dharmas, phenomenal events, forming a more complex psychological and metaphysical model. This period reflects a scholastic turn. Karma becomes part of a broader ontological and phenomenological framework, showing how mental and material phenomena arise and condition each other moment by moment. 3. Mahayana Buddhism, karma in the context of compassion and emptiness. In Mahayana Buddhism, especially from the 1st century CE onward, the concept of karma evolves in several important ways. Compassionate motivation. Karma is shaped not just by intention, but by bodhicitta, the altruistic aspiration to attain enlightenment for the benefit of all beings. This deepens the ethical dimension of karma. Transcending karma through wisdom. Mahayana texts, particularly Madhyamika and Yogacara philosophies, emphasize the emptiness, sunyata, of all dharmas, including karmic processes. Karma functions within conventional truth, but ultimate reality transcends all conceptual fabrications. Store consciousness, Alaya in Yogacara, karma is said to be stored in a deep, unconscious level of mind. This latent karma ripens into future experiences, adding psychological depth to earlier models. Karma becomes less linear and more relational, operating across infinite lifetimes and interwoven with the collective liberation of all sentient beings. This period marks a cosmic and altruistic turn, transforming karma from a personal ethic into a vehicle for universal salvation. 4. Vajrayana and esoteric Buddhism. Karma and transformation through ritual. In Vajrayana Buddhism, e.g. Tibetan Buddhism, karma is not denied but approached differently. Emphasis is placed on transforming karma rapidly through tantric practices like deity yoga, mantra, and visualizations. The role of the guru or lama becomes central. Through blessing and empowerment, karmic patterns can be purified or accelerated. Karma is interwoven with ritual magic and symbolic acts, offering a more mystical and esoteric path to liberation. While maintaining earlier views, Vajrayana introduces accelerated karmic transformation, suggesting that advanced techniques can purify vast amounts of negative karma in a short time. 5. Modern interpretations and psychological readings. In the modern era, especially with the global spread of Buddhism, karma has been interpreted through scientific, psychological, and ethical lenses. Many contemporary Buddhists understand karma as habit energy, conditioning, or mental patterns, closely aligned with psychological causality. Karma is sometimes reinterpreted as a form of natural moral law, rather than metaphysical rebirth. There's a growing emphasis on social karma and collective responsibility, connecting Buddhist ethics with modern concerns like environmentalism, justice, and peace. This modern view seeks to demystify karma, making it more accessible and relevant to contemporary life while preserving its core insight, that actions rooted in intention have consequences. V. The positive value of the doctrine of karma. The doctrine of karma, central to Buddhist thought, holds significant value not only as an ethical principle but also as a transformative and spiritual tool. The positive implications of karma can be understood through several key aspects that guide personal growth, societal ethics, and universal peace. 1. Empowerment and personal responsibility. At its core, the doctrine of karma teaches that individuals are the creators of their own destiny. Karma empowers practitioners by giving them agency over their actions, thoughts, and intentions. Personal responsibility. Karma challenges the fatalistic worldview, reminding individuals that each action, no matter how small, has an impact. This empowerment fosters a sense of accountability and encourages a more intentional life. Mindfulness and ethical conduct. By cultivating mindfulness in actions and speech, individuals are more likely to act in ways that promote happiness, peace, and harmony. Thus, the doctrine of karma encourages conscious living, where every action is weighed in terms of its ethical consequence. In this way, karma gives individuals the opportunity to shape their future by transforming their present. It promotes positive growth through self-awareness and ethical behavior, ensuring that a person's path is not dictated by external forces but by the internal moral compass. 2. Moral and ethical foundation. The doctrine of karma provides a moral framework for understanding the consequences of our actions and behaviors. The idea that good deeds lead to positive outcomes and harmful actions lead to suffering creates a clear ethical roadmap for human conduct. Incentivizing virtue. The law of karma inherently encourages virtues such as kindness, generosity, patience, and integrity. It reinforces the notion that these positive traits lead to harmonious relationships and a peaceful society. Avoiding harmful actions. By understanding that negative actions such as cruelty or greed result in future suffering, the doctrine of karma discourages harmful behavior. It emphasizes that our actions toward others and the environment will inevitably return to us in some form, fostering a sense of interconnectedness and collective well-being. This moral dimension helps individuals and societies to thrive on ethical foundations, where individuals actively pursue the good and actively avoid the negative, ensuring a more compassionate and just world. 3. Healing and transformation. Karma offers a path to healing and spiritual growth. By acknowledging that suffering is often the result of our past actions, individuals can work toward transformation. Self-reflection and regret. The recognition of one's negative karma can lead to genuine remorse and a desire to change. This self-reflection opens the door to spiritual healing, where individuals take responsibility for their actions and vow to cultivate better habits in the future. Purification of negative karma. The concept of karma is not just about retribution, it offers the possibility of transformation. Negative karma can be purified through acts of kindness, meditation, prayer, and good deeds. Over time, these actions create positive energy that can help reverse the effects of past wrongdoings. This transformative potential encourages individuals to take proactive steps toward healing and liberation. It is a hopeful doctrine, showing that no matter how much negative karma one may have accumulated, there is always the possibility for purification and spiritual advancement. 4. Interconnectedness and universal responsibility. Karma emphasizes the interconnectedness of all beings. The idea that our actions affect others and the world around us promotes a profound sense of universal responsibility. Social harmony. By acting with the awareness that our karma affects others, individuals are more likely to contribute to social harmony and collective well-being. This fosters compassion and solidarity, encouraging people to act for the common good rather than solely for individual benefit. Environmental responsibility. Karma also extends to how we interact with the natural world. Our actions toward the environment, whether positive or negative, have long-lasting effects. The awareness of environmental karma has led many contemporary Buddhists to advocate for sustainability, conservation, and mindful consumption. By recognizing that our actions are never isolated, individuals are encouraged to think beyond themselves and contribute positively to both the local and global community. This sense of interconnectedness cultivates a universal ethic where one's personal growth is tied to the flourishing of all sentient beings. 5. Promoting peace and nonviolence. Karma is fundamentally connected to the Buddhist principles of ahimsa, nonviolence, and metta, loving-kindness. The doctrine of karma teaches that violence and hatred will inevitably lead to future suffering, while peace and compassion create long-term harmony. Preventing suffering. Understanding karma discourages destructive behaviors and promotes nonviolence in thought, word, and action. This is not limited to physical violence but extends to verbal abuse, harmful speech, and the mental cultivation of hatred or anger. Cultivating peace. By focusing on positive karma, individuals actively participate in creating a peaceful world. Through practicing loving kindness, forgiveness, and generosity, one builds a peaceful environment that benefits not just the individual, but the entire society. Karma, in this sense, becomes a spiritual tool for cultivating peace, providing a profound rationale for ethical action that extends beyond the individual to the collective welfare. 6. Liberation and the ultimate goal of enlightenment. At its deepest level, karma is a tool for liberation. The Buddha's teachings on karma are inseparable from his teachings on nirvana, enlightenment, which is the ultimate liberation from suffering and the cycle of rebirth. Liberating from the cycle of rebirth. Understanding the law of karma helps practitioners break the cycle of samsara by purifying the mind of attachments, desires, and ignorance. When karma is fully understood and transcended, The individual is no longer subject to the continuous cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. Path to enlightenment. By cultivating wholesome actions, thoughts, and intentions, a practitioner can gradually purify their karma, leading them closer to the ultimate goal of enlightenment, where all karmic consequences are eradicated. Thus, the doctrine of karma provides a roadmap to liberation, showing that through virtuous actions, meditation, and wisdom, one can ultimately transcend the cycle of karma and achieve enlightenment. Conclusion. The doctrine of karma is a multifaceted and deeply transformative teaching within Buddhism. Its positive values, empowerment, moral ethics, healing, interconnectedness, peace, and liberation, are not just theoretical concepts but practical guides for living a fulfilling and spiritually meaningful life. By understanding and applying the principles of karma, practitioners can lead more intentional, compassionate, and wise lives, contributing to the well-being of all sentient beings and progressing toward ultimate enlightenment. 6. Scope of the study. The scope of this study is framed around an in-depth exploration of the doctrine of karma within the context of early Buddhism and its development through historical periods, focusing on its implications for personal and societal ethics, as well as its evolution in Buddhist thought. The study aims to explore the philosophical and doctrinal underpinnings of karma, its ethical significance, and its application in contemporary contexts. 1. Theoretical framework. The study is grounded in a theoretical framework that draws on primary Buddhist texts such as the Pali Canon, Agamas, and later Mahayana and Vajrayana scriptures. These will be analyzed for their treatments of karma, its causes and effects, and its role in ethical and spiritual practice. Philosophical traditions within Buddhism, including Theravada, Madhyamaka, Yogacara, and Vajrayana, to trace the evolution of the doctrine from its early, more simple ethical interpretations to its later, more complex metaphysical and esoteric formulations. Comparative analysis of Buddhist karma with other philosophical and religious doctrines, such as the Hindu, Jain, and Western philosophical traditions, to highlight its unique features and its influence on other belief systems. The study will use these texts and traditions to engage in a critical analysis of how karma has been understood, interpreted, and applied in different periods of Buddhist history. 2. Time periods and geographical focus. This study primarily focuses on the evolution of the doctrine of karma across three main historical phases. Early Buddhism, 5th century BCE to 1st century CE, the foundational period, focusing on the teachings of the Buddha as they are recorded in the Nikayas and Agamas. The ethical, psychological, and causal aspects of karma will be examined in this context. Abhidharma and Scholastic period, 1st to 5th century CE, the systematization of karma in Abhidharma texts, examining its role in the analysis of mental states, ethical behavior, and rebirth. Mahayana and Vajrayana periods, 5th century CE onwards. This phase covers the metaphysical and transformative understandings of karma in Mahayana texts like the Lotus Sutra and the Avatasaka Sutra, and the esoteric applications in Vajrayana. Geographically, the study will focus on South Asia, particularly India and Tibet, where the doctrine of karma developed and underwent significant transformations. The Southeast Asian and East Asian traditions will also be touched upon to illustrate how karma was interpreted in different cultural contexts. 3. Key themes and concepts. The primary themes to be explored in the study include the ethical and causal nature of karma, an examination of karma as an ethical principle of moral causality and its connection with personal responsibility, intention, and action. Karma and rebirth, a detailed exploration of how karma influences the cycle of rebirth, sasra, and how different Buddhist traditions interpret its impact on future lives. Karma and mental training, the role of karma in the development of mental states and its relationship with practices like meditation and mindfulness. The transformation of karma, how the understanding of karma evolved over time, from the more deterministic and ethical views of early Buddhism to the more altruistic, esoteric, and transformative approaches in Mahayana and Vajrayana. Social karma and collective responsibility, the extension of karma into collective and environmental dimensions, addressing social justice, compassion, and interconnectedness in the modern world. By focusing on these key themes, the study aims to provide a comprehensive understanding of how the concept of karma has shaped not only individual spiritual practices but also broader ethical frameworks and social teachings. 4. Methodology. The study will adopt a qualitative, textual analysis approach, drawing from primary and secondary sources. Primary texts, translations and commentaries of the Nikayas, Abhidharma, Mahayana Sutras, and Vajrayana texts will be analyzed in their historical context to trace the development of karma. Secondary sources, scholarly articles, books, and essays on Buddhist ethics, philosophical analysis, and comparative religion will be consulted to offer modern interpretations and critiques of karma. Comparative analysis. A cross-cultural comparison will be undertaken, focusing on the similarities and differences in how karma is understood in Buddhism, Hinduism, and other religious systems. Additionally, the study will include a historical and philosophical review of how karma has been perceived in both traditional and modern contexts, analyzing its relevance in contemporary Buddhist teachings and practices. 5. Limitations. While the study will cover a broad historical and geographical spectrum, it will primarily focus on Buddhism's internal development of karma, with less emphasis on the cross-cultural exchanges between Buddhist and non-Buddhist traditions in the pre-modern period. The analysis will center on doctrinal development, with only limited exploration of contemporary socio-political applications of karma, such as its use in modern Buddhist movements or global social justice initiatives. 6. Contributions of the study. This study aims to make the following contributions: clarification and refinement of the doctrinal aspects of karma, particularly in how it has evolved over different Buddhist schools. Critical examination of the ethical, psychological, and metaphysical dimensions of karma and its relevance for modern practitioners. A comparative framework for understanding karma in Buddhist thought versus other religious and philosophical systems. Insights into how karma can inform modern Buddhist practice and contribute to ethical living in the contemporary world. By examining karma through these different lenses, the study hopes to provide a holistic and integrated view of the doctrine, offering valuable insights for both scholars and practitioners alike. 7. Directions for further development of the study. This section outlines potential future directions for deepening the research on the doctrine of karma within early Buddhism and its subsequent evolution. The directions are intended to explore areas that may require further investigation or offer new insights into the doctrine of karma, considering its relevance in both historical and contemporary contexts. 1. Expanding cross-cultural comparative studies. Although this study provides an overview of the evolution of karma within the Buddhist tradition, further development could include a broader comparative analysis across different religious and philosophical traditions. Karma and reincarnation, expanding the research to compare how the concepts of karma and reincarnation are viewed not only within Buddhism but also in Hinduism, Jainism, and even certain Western philosophies would offer valuable insights into the shared roots and distinctions between these systems. For instance, how is the law of cause and effect understood in the Hindu concept of karma, and how does it relate to the Buddhist view of impermanence and dependent origination? Modern interactions. Studying how karma is understood and practiced in modern global contexts such as in Western societies, or within Buddhist diaspora communities, could help illustrate how the traditional views of karma are adapted to contemporary issues like social justice, environmental ethics, and global interconnectedness. This comparative study could draw from various historical sources, contemporary scholarship, and real-life examples of how different cultures understand and apply karma in the modern world. 2. Exploring karma in relation to contemporary ethical dilemmas. One key area for future exploration is how the doctrine of karma can inform and address contemporary ethical dilemmas. Social justice and collective karma. Analyzing the implications of karma in the context of social justice movements, such as addressing poverty, oppression, discrimination, and environmental degradation. This could include how collective karma influences societal actions and the way people can transform systemic injustices through positive karmic actions. Environmental ethics. Investigating how the understanding of karma can promote ethical environmental practices. Given that karma emphasizes interconnectedness, it would be useful to examine how our actions towards the environment, such as the exploitation of natural resources, climate change, and the destruction of ecosystems, can create negative karmic consequences. This exploration would align karma with sustainable development, environmental conservation, and the broader ethical treatment of the earth. By addressing these concerns, the study could provide fresh insights into how the principles of karma can lead to more just and ethical solutions in a world increasingly facing ecological and societal challenges. 3. Deepening the psychological and neurobiological understanding of karma. Another direction for future research is the psychological and neurobiological aspects of karma, particularly in relation to mental health, well-being, and the human mind. Karma and mental health. Investigating the correlation between karmic actions and the mental states of individuals. How do actions and intentions shape the mental landscape of a person? And how can mindfulness and meditation practices aimed at transforming negative karma contribute to psychological healing? Exploring the influence of karma on emotional regulation, neuroplasticity, and mental resilience could provide evidence-based insights into the effects of Buddhist practices on mental health. Karma and the subconscious mind. A deeper analysis of how karma interacts with the subconscious mind and how past actions, both positive and negative, can shape an individual's mental tendencies and behavioral patterns. This exploration could involve the application of modern psychological theories alongside traditional Buddhist thought on karma and reincarnation. By merging modern psychology and neuroscience with Buddhist philosophy, this direction could bring new interdisciplinary perspectives on how the understanding of karma influences mental and emotional well-being. 4. Investigating the role of karma in Buddhist practice and meditation. Future research could focus on how the doctrine of karma is applied in actual Buddhist practices, particularly in the realms of meditation and ethical living. Meditation and karma. Exploring the specific role that meditative practices play in transforming negative karma. How does meditation help practitioners purify their intentions and actions? And how do the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path guide individuals toward karmic purification? Karma in monastic life. Examining how monastic communities, both historically and in the modern day, incorporate the understanding of karma into their daily lives, especially in terms of ethical conduct, mindful awareness, and meditative practices. How do monks and nuns approach karma in their vows of renunciation, and what insights can be gained from their lived experiences? Role of teachers and gurus. Investigating how spiritual teachers and gurus guide practitioners in understanding and transforming karma through both teachings and personal example. The ethical impact of a teacher's actions on their students' karmic paths can provide valuable insights into the intergenerational transmission of karma and spiritual wisdom. By delving deeper into the practical application of karma in Buddhist practice, this research direction would help bring the doctrine of karma closer to the lived experience of practitioners and deepen the connection between philosophy and daily life. 5. Karma and the future of Buddhism. As Buddhism continues to evolve and spread worldwide, it is crucial to study the future trajectories of karma in global Buddhist communities. Globalization and karma. How are Buddhist teachings on karma being adapted to different cultural contexts as Buddhism spreads beyond Asia to the West? What changes in the interpretation of karma have emerged in response to the challenges of modernity, such as technological advancement, secularism, and the rise of individualism? New movements in Buddhism. Investigating the development of contemporary Buddhist movements such as engaged Buddhism, and how they incorporate karma into efforts for social change. This includes exploring how the doctrine of karma can contribute to interfaith dialogue, human rights activism, and global peace-building efforts. By analyzing the global expansion of Buddhist teachings and the future role of karma in addressing modern challenges, this research can offer valuable insights into the adaptive nature of Buddhist philosophy and its continued relevance in the 21st century. 6. Collaboration between scholars of Buddhism and other disciplines. Finally, fostering interdisciplinary collaboration is crucial for advancing the study of karma. Scholars of Buddhism, philosophy, ethics, psychology, and environmental science could work together to address emerging issues like mental health, social justice, and ecological responsibility through the lens of karma. Collaborative projects, organizing symposia, conferences, or joint research projects that bring together scholars from various fields would help to further enrich the understanding of karma, bridging the gap between ancient wisdom and contemporary concerns. This interdisciplinary approach could significantly broaden the scope and impact of the research on karma, providing a more comprehensive and multifaceted understanding of its role in both spiritual and secular contexts. Conclusion. These proposed directions for further research seek to enhance the understanding of the doctrine of karma by expanding its application and relevance in contemporary and global contexts. The future exploration of these themes would deepen the connection between the ancient Buddhist teachings on karma and modern ethical, psychological, and societal issues. By expanding the scope of research, scholars can uncover new dimensions of karma that will continue to guide and inspire future generations of Buddhists and non-Buddhists alike.